once again, thanks for taking the time to listen to this. This is not my usual content. However, I feel the need to explain this. Now, truckers get a bad rap. Truckers are usually out of shape, stinky, but there are some pros to being a truck driver, and there are some cons. I think I'm going to have to just dwell on a lot of these cons. So, there's probably people that want to go into trucking. They hear that the money's great, it's going to get me out of my 9 to 5, and this, that, and the third. And this is kind of a discouraging video that I feel inclined to make. Some days are good in trucking, some days aren't. That goes with every job. So, I want to dive into it for those people that are looking to get into trucking, those people that for some reason have trucking on their mind, whether you're just getting into it or whatever. I want to give you some pointers, some facts, some pros, some cons to help you decide if this is really worth it for you, because this is a huge lifestyle change. Now, in trucking, we are recommended, especially when you're just starting off, to be over the road. The reason why they want you to be over the road is because there is a lot less people doing it than they need. When I got into trucking in 2015, they said that there's about a 300,000 trucker shortage in America from what is required. Now, as much as I really don't believe in it, or at least I take it as a grain of salt, there is some aspects to going over the road why you should do it. If you're trying to be a truck driver in any shape or form with the Class A CDL. One of those is that many companies require you to have experience OTR. And if you don't have that experience OTR, you're not going to get those kind of jobs that are really, really nice in the industry. So you're required to be OTR. If you want a day job, if to drive a day cab, or to do anything, you need some experience, whether that's 6-month experience, 2 years. I've seen 4 years OTR experience required for these really nice jobs. Now, I've been driving trucks for 1.5 years, so I have some experience. It's not 10 years experience or anything like that, but I've been in the industry long enough where I can explain to you guys the pros and the cons and what you should expect in trucking. So, you're required pretty much to be OTR. When you're OTR is over the road, which means you need to be out on the road for generally a minimum of 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Generally. I'm the type of person that I stay out longer. The reason being is because I make more money. If I was going home every 3 weeks, I'm not going to be making as much money, and I only get 3 days off every 3 weeks. Sometimes you'll get a load in and out of where your hometown is that it might not be the best load to go in or out, and it fluctuates your schedules, your home time schedules. Don't expect to be home very often. If you're a truck driver, I think you already know this. You know all of this stuff. But this is for the newbies, or the people that are thinking about getting into trucking. So let's dive into why. Let's dip into the cons of OTR. Like I said, you probably stink if you're a truck driver. Yeah, that's true. You are going to stink. Showers are not abundant. Some people make it a thing to take a shower every day, every other day, but that's generally not feasible. You're constantly running. You're probably going to be late to appointments, and if you take a shower, you're going to be late to an appointment. Some appointments, if you're late, you might have to pay $500 out of pocket. It's not a general rule of thumb. If you're late, you have to pay money, but it does happen. And sometimes this will be a surprise to you because you will not be told. So you're going to have to make it to appointments on time. Sometimes making it to appointments on time will require fluctuations in your sleep schedule. You'll be delivering at 2 a.m. and then a day or two later you might be delivering at 2 p.m. or 7 p.m. and it just all fluctuates. It's not set. If you're over the road, you're not on a dedicated account. So your hours are going to be different. Your runtime is going to be different. And you pretty much need to expect to be running hard. If you want to make money when you're starting off in trucking, you need to run hard. And your dispatchers will help you on this. They don't want you sitting, because if you're sitting, you're not making them money. And if you're not making them money, then you're useless. So, point being, they will run you. Your dispatcher will run you. No matter what company you decide to go into, they will run you. No matter what a recruiter says or anything like that, they will run you. They don't want you sitting. Trust me. They want you making them money. And if you're making them money, you're making money. Now, in trucking, you get paid by the mile. There's some variation or variables in detention pay and layover pay, and maybe you get paid per stop. If you have multiple stop load, you will get paid per mile. Cents per mile, CPM. Your CPM, when you're just starting off, is going to be low. It's going to be really low. I started off at 32 cents per mile, and that's about average for a starter company. This was in 2015. I don't know if it raised the bar a little bit since then. I don't think so. So 32 cents a mile is a good average. I've heard of ones that were down to 26, 27 cents per mile, which is shit pay. You have to go 4 miles for $1. 32 cents is pretty much 3 miles for the dollar. I've heard of Prime starting people out at 38 cents a mile or 40 cents, whatever they're at now. They're probably the industry leader in cents per mile. So you're going to be getting paid per mile. So there's going to be days that you're going to be making a lot more money than others. If you do every 3 miles is $1, then you would have to make 3,000 miles that week to get $1,000. So you have to run hard to make your money. So I want you to look at your scenario, because whatever you're dealing with in life right now, if you're not a truck driver, is it worth it to get into trucking? You have to run a lot of miles to make $1,000 a week, and you're working 7 days a week. And a lot of times, you're not going to be making 3,000 miles a week. As much as your dispatcher wants you to, and as much as you want to, it's not always feasible, because there's a lot of things that get in the way. You might be taking a load out to somewhere where you're going to be sitting. And if you're sitting for a couple days and you're getting paid $50 layover for those 2 days, it's not making you any money, except for $50. And if you think $50 is worth you to be out on the road protecting the company's equipment, not getting paid, and then still paying for things to eat and stuff like that, if you think that's worth it for you, get in the truck. If not, I suggest you get your mindset elsewhere. You can make $1,000 a week, 7 days a week, and get to go home every day. I knew a guy who would work on palm trees. He would do palm tree type maintenance, and he made $150 a day. He worked 5 days a week, and he made $750 a week, or whatever it is. Yeah, $750 a week. And that's working 5 days. And then you get to go home. I think that's a good difference here, because you're not going to be working on trees for 14 hours a day. Now in trucking, best believe you're working a lot of hours. I average about 10 to 14 hours a day. It's rare, but sometimes I'll be sitting. I could be sitting once a month. I could be sitting, especially like in January and February, I sat probably 3 times, probably 4 times for 2 to 3 days during January and February, which was really, really rough for me. You're not going to get the miles during these months, no matter what company you drive for. And if the roads are shitty, you have to pull over. So, there's a lot of aspects that are going to hurt you in trucking. Now, when you just get into trucking, you're going to have to deal with truck driving school, because chances are, and it's very high chances, that you're going to have to go through truck driving school. Whether that's, I don't have to describe that, but you're going to have to pay money. I think it's average about $7,000 to get your CDL through a truck driving school. So most people can't afford that up front. If you're going into trucking and you have $7,000, don't get into trucking. I'll just put it that way. Don't do it. If you can save $7,000, don't get into trucking, because you're doing all right for yourself. You don't have to be doing this lifestyle. Now, of course, in trucking, you're going to be over the road, and you're going to be out on the road for weeks, months. Generally, I spend at least 10 weeks out at a time. 10 weeks, yes, I said that right. So about 3 months is actually around average. I've done 14 weeks. This time I'm going about 11 or 12 weeks. So you're going to be away from family for a long time. So you're not going to have a social life. You're not going to have fun. This is work. Every day, 7 days a week, for weeks or months at a time. If you can handle that, get into trucking. If you think, I don't know if I can handle that, stay the fuck out of trucking. So, you're going to be out over the road. You're going to need showers. You're not going to get them as much as you want to. You're going to be dealing with a lot of shit mentally, being stuck in a truck for weeks, months at a time. If you can handle that, get into trucking. If you think you can. So you're going to have to pay back your tuition, and there's a lot of things that are going to be painful, especially during the first 6 months of being a truck driver. But even before then, you have to go to truck driving school. You don't get paid for it, you have to end up paying for it. You don't get paid for it, you have to pay for it. So it's going to be a setback if you don't have much money. And then you have to go out with a trainer for probably about 4 weeks. Could be longer. I've heard of people being out with trainers for 2 months. And it's a sad paradigm, but it does happen. So you're out with the trainer for a month at a time. And when you're out there with the trainer for a month, you have to be with somebody that probably stinks, probably is a little agitated, and has to teach you stuff. Chances are, you're not going to have all the questions for your trainer. And you're probably going to be a little unprepared going out on the road. My trainer, to give you an idea, he would sit in that seat and he would watch movies on his phone with his headphones in. You want to know what kind of training I got? He might as well not even been there. Cool guy, don't get me wrong. Cool guy. But, yeah, he was watching movies the whole time. And so you can't rely on your trainer to help you out. And there's a lot of shit to know. Every day, I'm still learning. And this is a year and a half into it. I'm learning new things. I'm learning things outside my field. I'm learning a lot of things. So your first 6 months is going to be tough. Chances are, if you're going to get in any type of accident, any type of needing a wrecker company, a towing company, it's going to probably occur in your first 6 months because you're going to be not very trained. You're going to be new to this, and they give you keys to a truck and say, have fun. And it's not that much fun. That little excitement that you'll feel, which everyone feels in trucking, when you first start out, is going to fade. That wow, this is cool. This lifestyle's cool. I'm out on my own, making money. Yeah. Your first 6 months isn't going to be the best. It was the worst 6 months for me for any job ever. I was working heavy hours, which I'm obviously today I'm still working heavy hours, but with the heavy hours, I'm driving on the grass right now, just to let you guys know if you're wondering. On purpose, though. I'm avoiding construction workers. Alright, so what the fuck was I saying? Your first 6 months is going to be tough. You're going to go through a lot of shit. You have to pay back your tuition. So that's $7,000 you got to start paying back. You're not going to be making much money your first 6 months because of tuition, because of you're trying to recap from the last 2 months. Let's say a month in truck driving school, a month out with a trainer. So that's 2 months that you're pretty much not getting paid. Not much during your training. Just enough basically to eat. So you have a setback of 2 months on your bills and everything else. And now you have to pay back your tuition. So you're not going to be making much money because you have the lowest standard of cents per mile because you're just an entry-level driver. And you're not going to be making much money. And you have to give up a lot of money. So if that's a risk you're willing to take, get into trucking. If it's not, and if that sounds scary to you, don't get into trucking. Now, after your 6 months, you might get into an accident here, and yes, you have to pay the deductible on whatever accident you get into. If you forget a pre-trip and your wheel falls off or some shit, yes, you got to pay for that. So there's a lot of issues that can happen when you're driving a truck. You got to constantly maintain the truck. You basically need to be a mechanic. If there's something that happens, you need to fix it. You're the one out on the road, and the company doesn't want to pay a mechanic. So if you have a coolant leak, you need to identify where that coolant's coming from and how to fix it without having a mechanic. Like if there's a freaking nut or bolt or something that needs to be tightened or something, like something easy, you need to take care of that because the company doesn't want to waste time going to a mechanic. So you need to start doing that shit. I can't tell you how many times last year, especially last year when I was doing a bunch of plant runs, we have a reefer unit. And I must have had to fix 10 different reefer units at least by myself. This requires getting dirty, greasy, working on a reefer unit. Yes, in trucking, you're going to have to do some mechanic work. I didn't know shit about freaking a refrigeration unit, you know, and I'm the one getting down and dirty, trying to figure out how to prime it, how to do things, and how to fix it, how to replace belts and stuff like that on reefer units. It's not that complicated once you understand it, but that goes with everything. But you're going to have to work on things, do mechanic work, and guess what? You're a truck driver. You get paid cents per mile. You don't get paid to work on that reefer unit or your coolant leak. You don't get paid for that shit. You don't get paid for your pre-trip inspections. You don't get paid for shit. And you're going to be doing a lot of shit. So think about it. Are you willing to work for free? I don't think most people are. So, again, I expect this video to be discouraging. You're going to be stinky. Guaranteed. You're going to gain weight. Guaranteed. There ain't no vegan fucking restaurants at the truck stops. I'm telling you that. You're going to have pizza and you're going to have fast food. Whatever that fast food is. That's what you're left with. So you're going to be away from your family, your friends. You're going to be stuck in a truck, dealing with dispatchers, brokers. You're never going to be home on time when you want. Doesn't matter what company you work for. You're never going to be home when you want. You like to go to your child's basketball game? Not going to happen. Not going to happen. And if you only go out 3 weeks, you're only getting 3 days off. If you go out 10 weeks, you're getting 10 days off. So basically you go out 3 months for about 2 weeks off. So it'll be like a little mini vacation, but you're going to be working 7 days a week. Can the money in trucking be good? Absolutely. It can absolutely be very beneficial. But you gotta also realize when you're out on the road for all this time, you're gonna have to pay for whatever to go back to, right? So you have an apartment, you're not out, you don't see your apartment for a couple months, you're paying out of pocket for that apartment. That is collecting dust. Nobody lives there generally because you're a truck driver. You'd be home with your family if that was your priority, right? Prerogative, I think that was the better word. So you're going to be paying for things like that. Me personally, as a truck driver, I couldn't afford my apartment and stay out on the road. So I had to give up my apartment. All my shit's in storage in Florida, which actually I'm heading to right now. And yeah, you're going to be paying a lot of stuff. Your tuition back, you might not pay it back in the first 6 months. And if you do, you're a boss like me. So you might get some really good paychecks in trucking. The cents per mile will go up in due time. Generally, after the first 6 months, usually you'll have 6-month increments. In my trucking company, I made 32 cents a mile to start. Then I made it up to 35 cents a mile after 6 months. Then I made it up to 38 cents a mile after a year. And I don't know what the next raise is going to be. But I'm looking forward to it. Because if you look at it like this, if you're averaging 2,500 miles a week, 2,500 miles a week, and your pay raise goes up 3 cents per mile, you're making $75 more a week. Back where I came from, in my type of jobs, in my fields before, $75 a week was way more than just a raise. That means you just got promoted to manager. Like it's a big deal. But you get that every 6 months in trucking. Depending on your company, depending on a lot of things, but you might be damaging company equipment. That's out-of-pocket stuff. You might get fired for that shit. You might not get a raise. I'm not sure what your company's, things are, whatever they are. As a truck driver, you would have to sit in traffic. So remember, you don't get paid per the hour. You get paid per the mile. So when you're out there driving, and like if you're on the open road like I am right now, and there's not much traffic, then you make good money. If you do 600 miles a day, I did the math on my pay scale. If I do 600 miles, I'm going to be making about $220 that day, which is about an 11-hour day. need to work 11 hours for that. Or at least, yeah, I got to be on duty for about 11 hours. One way or the other. So 11 hours for 210 or 220 bucks on my pay scale. That's pretty good money, right? Now imagine on these open roads and I was able to do that, and then all of a sudden I have to go through Atlanta during rush hour. I go into Atlanta on one side at 4 p.m. and I make it 25 miles to the other end by 9:30. That's 5 hours, and this has happened to me plenty of times. 5 hours for 25 miles. Think about it for a second. That's less than $10. Let me think. Yeah, that's like $8 that I made for 5 hours of shifting in traffic for 5 hours. $8 for 5 hours. Is trucking worth it for you? It's going to take up all your time. But obviously, as a truck driver, you should be planning your routes, planning what time you're going to hit places, plan accordingly, because if you're about to hit a major city like Nashville or Atlanta or you name it, and you're about to hit a major city and it's about to be rush hour, take your 30-minute break. Like, there's many ways around it, but ultimately, there's things that are going to set you back. $8 for 5 hours of heavily working. If you're in traffic jam in a semi-truck, shifting constantly, that's a lot of work. That's third gear, fourth gear, fifth gear, neutral. Third gear, fourth gear, fifth gear, sixth gear, neutral. Third gear, fourth gear, neutral. It's just shift, neutral, stop. Your left leg's going to be hurting because it's on the clutch for 5 hours straight. And I think that clutch is like 30 pounds of pressure or something. Something like that, 30 or 20 pounds of pressure that you constantly got to be using your fucking left leg. So, yeah, there's an issue there, right? Now, recruiters aren't going to tell you what I'm telling you. They're going to tell you, you're going to be making $1,000 a week, life is great, etc., right? That's what recruiters will tell you. They will say anything. They'll be like, oh, $1,000 a week? I was making $8 an hour. I was making $300 a week working 40 hours, and I can over triple that working trucking, and there's no boss hovering over me? That sounds awesome. That does sound awesome, doesn't it, Mr. Recruiter? That does. Don't tell them my shit that I'm telling you as a truck driver for a year and a half. Don't tell them this shit. So, don't expect to have a social life. Expect to be spending a lot of money. For my first 6 months, I was constantly with a negative bank account. Constantly a negative bank account. Couldn't pay my bills. Couldn't pay nothing. After 6 months, or 7 months, yeah, about 6 months, I got rid of my apartment because I couldn't afford it. As a truck driver, I couldn't afford an apartment that I was only spending like $550 rent a month, internet, everything else, because I couldn't. It didn't make sense to me. So if you're a truck driver and you don't have family or anything, and you decide to get into trucking, don't have an apartment. Just don't do it. It's so much cheaper. Just get a hotel every few months. Just get a cheap ass fucking, $250 a week motel. So every 3 months you pay $250. That's what I do. Or go stay with your mom or your family or something, or your cousin, or just a friend. Just be a couch surfer. It's so much better to save your money. But you pretty much can't have an apartment, especially when you first start out. If you want to start seeing money, don't have an apartment. Don't go out and buy a brand new car or anything that gives you that you need payments, because you're going to have to pay back your tuition, and you're not going to be making that much money. chances are, depending on your company, they're going to give all the good loads to the drivers that have been in the company a lot longer. And if you're just starting out, you're going to get the short end of that stick. You're going to be going through Chicago and going through these shitty areas at your measly pay. And it's going to be rough. It's going to be a rough start. I'm not trying to discourage you. I'm trying to show you reality. Do you want to stink, gain weight, be unhealthy? Do you want to sit down for weeks straight with the only times you ever get exercise is to go fuel your truck and go in and out of the truck stop or back and forth from a shipper to your truck? You know, these little freaking 100 feet walks. That's your exercise, once or twice a day, if. You're not going to have time to do what you want. So, when you have your home time, it's all catch up on things. If you weren't able to do laundry out on the road, well, you're going to be wearing the same fucking shit, right? You're out on the road. You're not always going to have 3 hours to do laundry or whatever it takes. 2 hours. Life out on the road is expensive. There is truck stops. And truck stops are expensive. Cup of coffee at McDonald's, $1. Cup of coffee at a truck stop, $2. You want a taco at Taco Bell? $1. You want a taco at Taco Bell at a truck stop? $2. To give you an understanding. Everything is more expensive in the truck stop. And you can't just go to a Walmart when you please. It is not really possible. Now, there are trucks and companies that allow you to have refrigerators, like mini fridges. It's very valuable to have one. I don't have one because I don't have room in my truck. But hopefully in my home time I can free up more room. Yeah, there are some luxuries. When you have like a refrigerator, you can have a TV, your video game console, a computer. Some truck stops have Wi-Fi. But I had to pay $100 for the Wi-Fi at the Pilot Flying J. And it sucks. $100 a year, and it sucks. And so pretty much you're going to be on your phone. That's pretty much your source of internet. So get Wi-Fi hotspot. Ah, fuck. So, please say this is still recording. All right. So, do the pros outweigh the cons for